Welcome! If you've seen some of my other videos, you might know that I'm a humongous fan of the 7th generation of gaming. And I want to thank anybody who watched this video here, because it's had a brilliant response which has been very big for my little channel. So much so, I felt compelled to make a sequel. Without further ado, here are some more fantastic games stuck on the 7th gen that you really need to play. And I'm going to kick off with a very ambitious one. Alpha Protocol. I can't describe this as the absolute perfect game. It was very ambitious, succeeded in many areas, not in every single one. But it is very, very good. It's a solid spy RPG. The gameplay itself is very good. It's varied, which I think actually makes it so appealing to me. You can approach every mission as you wish, be it stealth, karate chopping, or shooting your way through. You get to take on the role of Michael Thornton, who is working for a Black Ops agency called, you guessed it, Alpha Protocol. It's the title of the game. Extensively customizable, this game lets you play your way, approach each mission as you want to. And the story is nuts. It is so good. Twisting and turning all over the place. Globe-trotting spy adventures have never been so much fun. Give it a go. I promise you won't regret it. Moving on, this is a proper hidden gem for the 7th gen. It is Enslaved Odyssey to the West. This is set approximately 150 years in the future in a post-apocalyptic landscape. Now, yes, we have seen plenty of post-apocalyptic landscapes in gaming. This one is done absolutely excellently. It's bright, it's vibrant, it's alive. And the characters really, really speak to you. You take on the role of Monkey, accompanying Trip through this wasteland. And there's 3 main parts to the gameplay which are done equally well. First of all, the platforming. This is one of the most competent platformers I've played for a long, long time. Combat, you're using Monkey's trusty staff, whether it be close quarters combat or long distance. And there's also an element of puzzle solving. And they got this balanced just right. It'll make you scratch your head, but it won't take you out the immersion because it's so difficult you can't get past it. All in all, a very good game in every aspect which I can't find fault with, and hopefully you won't either. Now we're going to talk about a media franchise which I've been a huge fan of since I was a little kid. I'm talking James Bond 007. That was cringy. Yes, I am a self-confessed Bond fan. This particular game, 007 Bloodstone, is possibly the best that's been released so far. Although I will confess I've never played a James Bond game which I didn't like. This has got a really fantastic story that has been done specifically for this game. And it does play like you are in a James Bond movie. You've got gunfights, car chases, explosions, colourful characters, all the way through it on this third-person globe-trotting adventure. As I said, I am a fan of this series, and I feel that this game is almost like a fan service to people like me. I loved every second of it. I hope you give it a go, because it's a good experience, it's great fun, and dare I say, maybe even slightly better than some of the more recent films. I think we should take a journey now to the Old West, in Call of Juarez, Bound in Blood. Let's face it, playing cowboy games is fun. Being a cowboy outlaw, well, that's just a riot, isn't it? This is not the first Call of Juarez game, and it's not the first one set in the Old West. So the developers know exactly what they're doing, and they have crafted a superb world. It looks gorgeous, and it just works perfectly. It's a first-person shooter. It's a little bit over the top and arcadey, which I mean as an absolute compliment, because over the top arcadey action is fun. And that's exactly what this game is. It's got the best plot of the Call of Juarez games in my humble opinion, although they're all quite good. Even the cartel. I know that might be controversial, but I liked the cartel as well, even though it wasn't in the Old West. But I digress. Do you want to have duels with pistols? How about robbing a bank? Holding up a stagecoach? Maybe a train? This game's got it all. I definitely think if you just want a bit of pick up, put down, action, fun, this is the game for you. Let's face it, we've only got 2 Red Dead Redemption games. We need to get our cowboy fix from somewhere else. This is a good place to go. Moving on to another entry in another big famous franchise, Command & Conquer. Red Alert free. This is the last Command & Conquer game that was actually released on console. The majority of the games are PC, with only a small smattering making it to the home consoles, which is a shame, because they're excellent. And this is my favourite one yet. Being the most recent one on home consoles, you'd expect it to have the best graphics, and you'd be right, it looks great. There's almost so much going on the screen. When it comes to real-time tactics action games, Command & Conquer's the granddaddy for a reason. It knows exactly what the fans want, and it delivers it every single time. There are 3 campaigns you can play through, being one of 3 different factions. It just works as it should. Command & Conquer knows what it's doing, it knows how to do it. As an added bonus, I will say they've actually got real-time footage for the cutscenes as opposed to computer animated. And the majority of them, well, they're actually pretty hilarious, which just adds a little bit more fun to the game. And that's what this is. Whether you're in command of a small force infiltrating enemy territory, or you're building up a base to build up an overwhelming force to go over and just overrun the enemy and claim the territory as your own, you can do this here. You can have a great time doing it. This game cannot be recommended highly enough. Do you fancy a game with some really quite unique combat? Good, because I've got you covered. With this one, Wet. Being a mercenary has never been more fun. Yes, you've got the expected gunfighting, and it's done very well, but also, you've got a dirty great sword. So if you want to, you can acrobatically slice and dice your way through every enemy that approaches you. It's got a bit of a bonkers story, a deliciously dark sense of humour, which I really appreciated, and an absolutely banging 70s inspired soundtrack. It's dark, it's gritty, it's over the top, it's just brilliant. Give it a go. It's also quite cheap.
Speaking of cheap, hitting the like button's free, you know.
I feel we should take to the skies next. How about we do that in Ace Combat Assault Horizon? I'm relatively new to the Ace Combat series. I only picked up Ace Combat 7 on the PS4 this year. But it's a fantastic game, probably one of my favourites all of a sudden on the PS4. So it was only natural that I was going to go into the back catalogue and get what I could for the previous generations. And Assault Horizon, I've got to say, could be equal to Ace Combat 7. It is that good as well. Looks absolutely gorgeous. It could be one of the best looking games on the 7th gen, I kid you not. You really get that feeling of being behind the cockpit of an advanced warfighter, whether you're skimming along the surface or soaring high in the clouds. The story there, it's okay. It does the job. You're not really in this game for the story, that just serves a purpose to get to the next mission where you get to fly that plane. The enemy AI is more than competent in this. I just had an absolute blast. Taking out ground targets, dogfighting enemy planes, it's brilliant from start to finish. I cannot recommend this game, or indeed the Ace Combat franchise, highly enough. It's just superb. That's all I can say. Superb. As we get into the last 2, I feel I might go a little bit controversial with this one, but I really liked it. Castlevania Lords of Shadow. Now the reason that the Castlevania purists out there might be booing right now at their screens is because it was Castlevania's first foray into 3D games. And I've got to say, it did lose a bit of the magic that made it what it was previously. But it replaced it with a really good game. I love the dark, gothic settings. Be it from snowy mountains to crumbling castles. It just works well. Combat-wise, I personally feel it plays a lot like the Devil May Cry games. And I don't mean that as a bad thing, because the Devil May Cry games, well at least most of them, are very good and the combat in them is the highlight. It's just very different from what previous fans of this series have expected. But don't be afraid of being different. Don't be afraid of evolution, otherwise we'd never get better graphics and better games, would we? I enjoyed it. From start to finish, I had a blast with this game. And it is worth playing through just for the ending. I won't spoil it, you know I don't do spoilers. But it's worth playing through just for that ending, which really ties things together nicely. Or at least it does so in my opinion. There is also a sequel, Lords of Shadow 2. Also a fantastic game. I think this one's slightly better. Let me know what you think. Or do you just love the old school 2D Castlevanias and think I'm talking out of my bottom? Let me know in the comments either way. And finally, an honourable mention. Video games have one purpose in life: to be fun. The next game isn't a AAA game, it's never was going to win Game of the Year even when it was new, but it gives you that sense of fun. And it lets you be a pirate. I'm talking about Risen 2. This leans far more towards the RPG side. Now when I mention pirate games, you probably immediately thought of either Black Flag, still one of the best games ever, or Monkey Island, one of the best point-and-click adventures ever. Well, this goes in the middle and then leans a bit towards Black Flag. I liked the RPG elements. I'm enjoying being a buccaneer on the high seas and combating these mystical, legendary monsters. I'm having fun. I can't sell the game to you as anything other than that. It's great fun being a pirate. It's another cheap game. I think it's worth your time, but I'll leave it up to you. And that concludes this list. Let me know if you've got any favourites there or if I've missed off your favourite. I'm going to put a link here so you can check out my previous list of games trapped on the 7th gen. If you've enjoyed this video, I'd love a thumbs up because it just lets me know I'm doing the right thing for you. Until next time, I'll see you soon. Ta-da!